Have you ever found yourself face to face with fear? You know that moment when your heart's racing and doubt starts to creep in? Think about the time you needed to say something or do something, but that feeling in the pit of your stomach left you powerless. What are the things you've missed out on in your life because of fear? Well, fear is something we all have to live with on the regular. It's part of what it means to be human. Fear can serve to protect us by keeping us from doing something reckless, but if it's left unchecked, it can bring us to ruin. And that's where courage comes in. Courage is the antidote for fear. Everybody's afraid of something, and there will be times in your life where courage seems to be something that's just beyond your reach. It's something that is reserved for superheroes or 10th level Ninja SEALs or something, but I assure you it is well within your reach. The capacity to summon courage on command is part of what it means to be on the warrior's path. So if that's the road you're on, this episode's for you. So lock and load. This week's episode of Pearl Snap Tactical Podcast is starting now. Hey, what's going on? It's Mark. Welcome to another episode of Pearl Snap Tactical Podcast, coming to you live from an undisclosed location south of the Mason-Dixon line. I'm running it by myself. Alex is out. He's sick as a dog. I don't know what's going on with the boy, but he's hurting, so we just gave him the time off, and he'll be back here shortly. So anyway, I thought I would pop on here and do spit one of these out real quick, since I think I owe you one. It's been a minute since we put one up. So what's up? What have you been doing? What's going on in your neck of the woods? For me, well, I got a couple new things to tell you about. We got a new pup to keep our other pup company. So I got a little 2-pound ball of fur that I'm babysitting right now, who's sitting here at my feet while I record this, and I'm having to been under house arrest, basically taking her out to poop and pee every 30 minutes so that she can get potty trained. So anyway, it's been a while since I've had to potty train a dog. So it's, having to remember all those things. So anyway, she's almost there. She's doing good. Another thing is I'm working on a book that I will tell you more about that, covering some of the topics like we are going to talk about today. And so anyway, I need to know if you like this stuff. So once this episode is done, shoot me a line. Let me know if this is something you want to hear more of, or if you want me to keep my mouth shut about it. And promise I won't keep my mouth shut. I'll just go talk to somebody else about it, and I won't bug you with it. The other thing is we are working on a new initiative that's called Operation Steel Shadow. I'm really excited about this. This has been something that's been on my heart for a long time. I think things are going down, and things are like this are needed. In fact, last week I sent out on the newsletter a survey asking everybody to complete a little short questionnaire, just a few questions, kind of put in input, let me know, because I'm creating this and I want it to be created in a way for you, to have the value that you want, the things that you are looking for and that you need. So that's why I needed participation, and I sent that out. So if you didn't get that and you still want to participate, just email me, info@baratusdefense.com. And we still got time. You can still participate in that. Just email me and say, hey, yo, Mark, I want to participate in that survey. Shoot me the questions and I'll do it. And by the way, if you're not on the newsletter, what are you doing with your life? Like, seriously, get over there and get on it. Go over to www.baratusdefense.com, BARRITUS, and get signed up for it. It's free. And it's packed full of information that's going to make you faster, stronger, and harder to kill. So who doesn't want to do that? All right, moving on. As you know, one of the objectives of this podcast is to build a warrior culture among our folks, among primarily men who are the primary listeners here. Women more than willing, let me get it out. You're more than welcome to listen to, and you will find value in it. But nonetheless, we are focused and poised not just on the warrior skills, but the warrior culture, the inner world as well, right? So one of those topics, one of those virtues that we want to cover here on the this first in a series is the topic of courage, right? Courage. Aristotle, who was the OG multitasker from antiquity, maybe you've heard of him. He was a scientist, a philosopher, tutored a dude by the name of Alexander the Great, who only went on to conquer the known world at the time. That guy. Well, he said that in his mind, courage was the cornerstone virtue of them all, because without courage, you couldn't do the other ones. It was the cement. It was the springboard, the cornerstone that made all the others possible, right? Was courage. And in his mind, what he would say is that courage is not the absence of fear, but it's mastery over the fear, not the absence of it. That's what defines courage, right? So valor propels us to action in spite of our anxieties. Courage is highly praised, or has always been highly praised. Y'all, I don't know. Maybe I didn't drink enough whiskey before I started this one. I just seem to be all over the place, or maybe it's my braces. I don't know. Hang with me as I try to get through this stuff. But courage is highly praised, and it always has been, by warriors and sages alike, right? So what exactly is courage? Or more importantly, what is it not, right? Let's kind of compare and contrast a very similar word, sometimes used interchangeably, but there are nuance between them, at least in my mind, is bravery, right? Bravery versus courage. So bravery would be fearlessness, right? To act in the absence of fear, whereas courage is the feeling of fear and acting regardless. So courage is a state of mind that you summon within yourself. So let's look at this for a second and understand why is courage so virtuous and admirable, where bravery is admirable, but it's not as virtuous. So let's look at it this way. So I've got a buddy, right, that is not afraid of heights, right? He will go and he does do it. This is his job. He works on cell phone towers. And I mean the big ones, the like 500 feet tall. I don't know if they're really 500 feet, but let me tell you, they are tall. They are really tall. And he will climb up this thing, right? And he will climb up and he will strap himself in and he will take a picture of it where, the people below, you can't even see the people below. They're so small. You can't see anything. It's like literally like he's up in an airplane. He's so high up there, right? And it does not bother him one bit. He is just as comfortable being up on top of that tower as he would be sitting down on the ground under a shade tree eating a bologna sandwich and talking sports with you, right? It is not a big deal for him. For other people, that'd be a huge deal. That'd be a deal breaker. They'd be like, I don't want that job, right? So that is the deal, is bravery is just the absence of fear, and courage is being able to transcend it, right? To face it and go beyond. So if you are scared of heights and you go to airborne school and you summon the courage to, jump out of a plane or whatever, or you go to air assault school where you're always going to be, rappelling out of helicopters or climbing up the heights on the obstacle course and stuff like that, and Tower Week, right? That is virtuous, right? Because you are facing your fear. You are transcending and you are growing, right? You're becoming greater than you were before, versus bravery, where it can be admirable. Like, I think it's cool that my buddy goes and climbs up on those towers and stuff, but there's nothing really virtuous about it. He's not overcoming anything. He just does his job. He's collecting a paycheck, right? So do you see the difference? Because here's the thing. Although we would all wish we could be brave, right, about everything, and we are. I'm sure there's things that you are brave about, but you ain't brave about everything. Nobody is brave about everything. Nobody is without fear of everything, right? There's something that you're afraid of, right? And same with me, right? But that is where courage comes in. Courage is the antidote. That is why it is so prized among warriors. The ability to master that flame, to stoke it within you and to summon it, right? To grow it so that it's there when you need it on command, to force you to do great things, to confront your own fear, your own anxiety, your own doubts, and to overcome them and to become more than what you were, that is virtuous. That is part of the warrior's path. And it always has been, right? So let me tell you a little story. All right, so you got that down. Let me tell you a story of a couple dudes, right? I'm going to go into the modern world, and then I'm going to give you one from the ancients. So Eddie Rickenbacker was a World War I pilot, right? He was an ace of ace. In his time, he had the number one kill ratio of any other pilots. He had about 26. Dude starts out, he was born in 1890, right at age when fast cars and airplanes were just coming online. And Eddie Rickenbacker is all about it. Early in his life, he had a fascination with speed, right? And he couldn't wait to start racing cars as soon as he could get a chance. He was born in Columbus, Ohio, which at the time only had about 60,000 people in it. So I think it's a little bigger now, right? And so he started racing, right? And then as soon as World War I hit, boom, boy, he was off and he went to become a pilot, right? And he had all kinds of death-defying brushes with death, right? Aerial combat. And there's a fellow by the name of John F. Ross that wrote a book about it, and doggone it, I'm sorry. I'll put the name in the notes. The name of the book escapes me, man. Oh man, rookie mistake. I didn't have that in my notes before I started. Sorry, I'm just doing it like Bill O'Reilly. We'll do it live. Anyway, I will put the name of the book in the show notes for you so you can get it. Go ahead, grab it, read it, because in there, Ross really studies Rickenbacker's aspect of courage, right? And what he understood, and what he came to find is that this guy wasn't a hothead. He wasn't an adrenaline junkie, right? Like some daredevils were. He was not a daredevil at all. And yet he took more risks than anybody, right? He went for it more than anybody, even the adrenaline junkies, right? And some of them spiraled down to their death because they pushed it too far. But Rickenbacker was always there in the middle between the risks that had to be taken, right, that verged on craziness, versus calculating, right? And that's what Ross's study is about, right? It's like trying to find out what was Rickenbacker's version of courage. And what he found is, just like Rickenbacker said himself, that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting anyway. There can be no courage without fear, because fear, when you use it like a tool, it helps you from being reckless. It helps you from making rash decisions. It forces you to sit there and count the cost, to think about it strategically and tactically. And then when you confront your fear, right, with your plan, armed with your plan, then you can confront it and overcome it. And that's what Rickenbacker did. Also very telling is that that John Ross really weaves a web or paints a picture of a man who was really driven by purpose, and a purpose that was not just to be great, right, at what he was doing, but really somebody who loved his country, right? Someone who wanted to be his best and to serve and to protect his country, right? A genuine patriot, right? So that's the story of Eddie Rickenbacker, right? Now, let's compare this to one of my favorite stories of old. I've talked about this even on a lot of podcasts. I love this epic. It's the epic of Beowulf, right? If you haven't read Beowulf, well, you should be ashamed of yourself. It's if you're a warrior, you need to read. Well, maybe that was a little strong. I don't want you to get your feelings hurt. I didn't mean that. Not really. You've got time, though. You can go back and read this. You need to read Beowulf. Now, a lot of times, even in interviews I do on other podcasts, I'll make reference to things like, some of the Icelandic sagas, the Iliad or Beowulf. And I ain't gonna lie, y'all, some of these can be a little difficult to read. It's just written, and I think Beowulf was written it was an oral tale first, and then I think it was like put down in writing maybe in the 700s or something. So obviously people spoke a little differently back then. And even when it's translated from Old English to modern English, it's an epic, right? It's not written like a novel. It's a little different. And so it takes a little getting used to on the meter and the style of writing and stuff. But man, I'm telling you, once you get into it and once your brain kind of gets adjusted and you get wrapped around there, dude, you want to talk about a ride. You need to read this book, right? You need to take its principles and its stories, its template, and really, I encourage you to, embody this, right? This story from our ancestors. So what the heck, if you haven't read Beowulf, what is Beowulf? What Beowulf is a character. He's an epic hero, right? From the Anglo-Saxon period, right? It was written in England from the Saxons and Angles and Jutes who invaded from northern Germany, who settled into Britain, right? And brought their culture of the north into, what was then, I guess, Roman and Celtic Britain, right? So anyway, he's this guy, epic Vendel warrior, right? He battles dragons, he battles monsters, all this stuff, but he's always got this courage and the sacrifice, right? So he's this great warrior that comes over and he fights Grendel, this monster. Then he goes out and he takes on her mom, Grendel's mom, right? And he wins all this glory and he gets this retinue of these warriors that follow him. And pretty soon Beowulf builds his own kingdom, right? And he's honored and he's loved by all. And then I think fast forward 50 years later, Beowulf's older, right? He's lost his virility. He's not the same warrior that he was in his 20s, right? But there's this dragon in town that rolls up and starts smoking people. And he's living in a lair and he's got all this gold and he's causing problems for the townspeople. And word reaches Beowulf. And Beowulf is like, dude, we can't let this stuff keep going down, right? I'm going to have to go out and take care of business. But the problem is Beowulf's not the same warrior that he was, right? He's more of the sage now, but he's still this king, and he has his loyalty and love for his people that he wants to protect his people. And in those times, it's not like the politicians today that they send the young boys off to fight and die, while their kids go to, Ivy League schools and stuff like that. They, back then, the politicians themselves were the leaders in battle, right? They were courageous. They were men of honor and character. We don't have that anymore. So anyway, enough of that soapbox. Let's get back to Beowulf. So anyway, they're riding out to meet this dragon, right? So Beowulf takes with him his retinue of warriors. These are his elite force, these guys that have been with him for decades. They have rolled through, they've put down rebellions, they've conquered other kingdoms, they've vanquished other enemies, right? They've rivaled in the glory of conquest together, right? They got history together. They've stacked bodies together. So he takes his retinue with him, and alongside is one of his nephews, right? A very loyal and courageous warrior, but he's not been battle tested yet, right? So his name's Wiglaf, but he's a good dude. He's a solid dude. There's a lot of promise in him, but he hasn't been tested yet. He hasn't gone out into battle. He's trained. He's ready. He's got his kit. He knows what he's doing. He's very competent, but he just hasn't been tested yet, right? So he's still, in a sense, an unknown quantity. So they ride out to meet this dragon, right? And Beowulf's like, he's the leader, right? He's like, hey, gents, y'all stand fast. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go take care of this dude. I'm going to put him down, and then we're going to roast him, and then we're going to break out the scotch, and then and we'll hang out and have a great time, and it's what we're going to do, right? It'll all be over with, here in a little bit. So he steps in there and Beowulf goes in there, but the dragon, man, is way too much for him. He starts slinging Beowulf around. He's biting him. And all of a sudden, these warriors are freaked out because this is the first time they have ever seen weakness in their leader. This is the first time they've ever seen him vulnerable, right? He's getting it handed to him by this dragon. This dragon is going to kill him, right? And this is their leader. This is the one they've always looked to. This is the one who's always taken care of everything, right? This is the one who, as long as he was standing, the outcome of the battle wasn't in doubt. And now all of a sudden, this dragon is just destroying their leader. And these dudes, they can't take it. They cannot take it. Despite the fact that these were elite warriors, they couldn't deal with it. And they take off, man. They take off. Except for Wiglaf, man. Wiglaf is standing there at the face of the cave, and he's shouting back to these guys. And at first he's like, what are you talking? Get back here, man. We got to go in there and help Beowulf. We got to go in there and help him. And they're like, dude, we're not doing any of that. We're out of here. And so what he tries to do first is he tries to remind them of their oaths, right? So you got to understand, back in the Viking, in the Vendel era, like in these societies, like your oath, that was a big moral thing. Like if you swore an oath to somebody or to do something and you didn't do it, that was like a major no-go in that society. That would earn you all kinds of shame. That shame could be reflected, not just you, but it could be reflected on your family and your kin. Depending on the nature of the oath, you could be exiled, right? You could be outlawed. You could be hunted down. I mean, it was a big deal when you swore an oath. It's, today's day and age ain't a big deal. People break their word every day. But when you swore oaths then, it was a big deal. So when Wiglaf is appealing to their oath, right? You swore an oath to him, right? He gave you treasure. He was bountiful. He was generous with you. He led you to glory. All of your lives have been improved because of Beowulf, and you swore an oath to fight with him and to die with him, and you're leaving him. They're like, yeah, cool story, bro, but we're still out of there. Then after that, he tries to appeal. First he tries to appeal to their honor. Then he tries to appeal to their shame about how, what are you doing? You guys aren't acting like men. You're not being warriors. This is what we're supposed to do. This is why we exist. Let's do it. He tries shaming them, and they're still not going for it. So Wiglaf's like, hey man, I can't keep wasting time out here with these dudes. So he rolls in, and he starts engaging in combat with this battle, right? And so he wounds the dragon a little bit, just enough, so that Beowulf can finish the dragon off and kind of deliver the death blow, as it were. All right, so dragon's dead, dragon's over, and Wiglaf, and it's just Wiglaf and Beowulf, right? And Beowulf is dying, his breathing his last breath, and he gives the first, he commends Wiglaf on his courage, on his love, on his devotion. Hey man, good job. You're an awesome warrior for everything you did, for coming to the rescue. And I'm going to give you my kingdom, right? I'm going to bequeath the kingdom to you, right? And what is so awesome is that in that story is that, Wiglaf was not Beowulf's son, right? So he didn't get the kingdom through inheritance. He didn't get it given to him. He got it through merit. He earned it. He earned it through his acts of courage. And that's how it is with us, folks. That's how it is with us. It's not going to be given to you. Courage cannot be given to you. Courage cannot be bequeathed to you. You have to earn it. You have to be it. You have to face those dragons from within to develop that courage. But the thing is, the potential for courage is always within you. It's always there. It's not something you have to go get. Whether or not you believe this or not, I'm telling you, and I know when you're scared, you don't feel like you have courage, but I'm telling you, just by my own experience, and I'm sure you've had experiences too, if you think about it, about those times when you were courageous, right? It was there. You just had to access it. You just had to pull it out. And so that's really how do we do that, right? Even if you've experienced it, it's like, how do we reverse engineer that, right? You're like, yeah, you know what, Mark? I can think of a couple times where I was scared half to death and I just went for it. I just knew I had to do it, right? And so I did it. Well, but I can't tell you how I did it. Well, I get it. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we access this, right? So you can think about the fact that people can be motivated by fear. People can do great things, amazing things when they're afraid. Let's think about this. Let's say you are scared of heights, but you got a dang bear chasing you, right? All of a sudden, climbing a tree sounds pretty good, right? So you're afraid of heights and you're afraid to climb up the tree, but you're more afraid of the bear ripping your arms out of your socket and eating your face, right? And tearing your face off. It's pretty simple math, right? So I'm going to climb the tree, right? So you're doing something, you're transcending the courage or your fear of heights, by motivation of the bear that's charging towards you, right? Because you got to climb up pretty high to get away from those dudes. All right, so that's an example. So we can do things when we're motivated by fear, but you can do a lot more when you're motivated by love, right? Just like in the story of Wiglaf, right? When you're motivated by not money, not vainglory. I think there's a righteous and a sacred form of glory, but not vainglory, right? Not just when yourself, but for a love of others. Just think about any mom who's ever stood up and done anything for her kid, who summoned Herculean strength or has tried to fight off a carjacker, right? Who had her child inside the car. I mean, you will do more when you're motivated by love than ever by fear or anything else, right? So the point is to access that courage through mastery and self-dedication to a cause or a group of causes, or to find that purpose of what it is that you truly love, that you are truly willing, that you will not risk, you will not compromise, you will not, that you have to stand up for, whatever it is, right? And then when you find something that you need to do that causes doubt or anxiety or fear, you need to figure out how you can tie it back to that value, right? To your overarching purpose, right? That means more to you than anything, right? So when we struggle, right, we valiantly overcome our fear. That leads us to transcendence. That leads us to transformation. And when that happens, then we take our place among the heroes and the legends of old when we do that. Okay. That's what I got on courage. We could do a much deeper dive on that, but I just wanted to kind of hit at least that much. If you want inspiration, right? If you want to see the template, I'm telling you, our ancestors have already laid the path out for us. These stories like Beowulf, Sigurd the Dragon Slayer, the Iliad, these things were crafted. I read that Alexander kept a copy of the Iliad under his pillow each night. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if they were still using scrolls back then. I would imagine that would have been your pillow. But the point is, whether it happened or not, it's legend, right? And the legend is there to communicate the importance of something, of how important the Iliad was in those ancient warrior cultures, right? How important Beowulf was, how important Sigurd the Dragon Slayer. There are rune stones all over Scandinavia and in northern Germany. There's rune stones and reliefs and rock carvings and stuff in Britain all over the place of Sigurd the Dragon Slayer. These stories were told because they had the template, they had the formula in them that the warriors were looking for and they needed. It wasn't just entertainment. It wasn't just to pass the time. It was a template and a path for how life was to be lived, to be conquered, and to be overcome. And so I leave you with that. Before I go, I want to thank three special people. I want to thank Paige from Arkansas. I want to thank Brian from Pennsylvania and Lynn, also from Pennsylvania, for your generous support of this show, for donating through Buy Me a Coffee. This show is free to you, but it's not free to make. So if you'd like to support us, you can click the Buy Me a Coffee below, and any amount you would give is greatly appreciated. So until next time, this is Mark signing off, telling you to stay sharp and keep it pro snap.